Hello and welcome. You're watching N24. I am Mudi Wangam. In the news this week. First, the headlines. The Gambia Armed Forces on close protection training. The Gambia Wrestling Association held their general meeting. MOBSE outlines the dangers associated with tobacco powder, also known as TAABA. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education announces the GABECE results 2021. And now to the news in detail. The Gambia Armed Forces held an opening ceremony of close protection training, which was held at the Gambia Armed Forces premises on Thursday, the 30th of September 2021. The training was aimed at equipping the participants with additional knowledge and skills in close protection duties. Sukay Jarjasi has the rest of that story.
The training of the Gambia Armed Forces, which aims at equipping the participants with knowledge and skills on close protection duties, was done during the week. Sidi Njai, the commanding officer, State Guard Battalion, mentions the function of the State Guard Battalion.
For the benefit of those who do not know much about this State Guard Battalion, the State Guard Battalion is one of the battalions of the Republican National Guards, tasked to provide security for the President of the Republic of the Gambia and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, his immediate family, and his property. Before this State Guard Battalion, there was another one, but immediately after the infamous political impasse in 2017, members of the former State Guards Battalion were posted out from the State Guards. The State Guards was disintegrated, and then a new State Guards was reformed. And these are the members we have today here, some of them taking part in this important training. So when the new State Guards was formed, it did not only comprise of members from the Gambia Armed Forces, but also include personnel from some sister security services, including the Gambia Police Force, the State Intelligence Services, and the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services.
Deputy CDS Ahmad states that this will benefit the country in terms of security, especially the President.
Security is very important, especially security of the President, his immediate family, and the members of the high echelons of government and his residents. So the more we have the ability of our men to be able to provide the President with close protection, then I think it will benefit the whole country. Knowing that, as I have stated in my speech, that the President needs to move regularly and interact with the Gambian people, as evidenced with his Meet the People store, where large crowds come very close to the President. Of course, it is normal. As security, we should be able to ensure the security of the President, and at the same time, allow him the latitude and the reach to be able to interact and talk and exchange ideas with the general public without unnecessary alarms or a risk to his security.
Also, the British Commissioner extends thanks to the President for facilitating the training. The Commissioner also highlighted 3 things which made the event special.
I'd like to highlight just 3 things, if I may, about what makes this particularly special. The first I'd like to direct towards the Deputy Chief of Defence Staff, which is to highlight the incredible relationship that the United Kingdom and the Gambia have had over many, many years. Just last night I was reading about the Gambia regiment in Burma during the Second World War and the incredible exploits and heroic acts that Gambians and members of the Commonwealth and the British Army shared together in that campaign. Your heritage and your reputation as soldiers who are disciplined, and conduct their duty with utmost skill has been shown over many years. I also discovered that the last British colonel of the Gambia Regiment was an officer from the Oxford and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry, which now being the Rifles as I am, I think is quite a nice link. Shows why you're so good. I'd also now like to direct the next point to the CEO of the State Guard Battalion, and I'd like to thank him and also His Excellency the President for allowing us the honour to train such an important unit within the Gambian Army, and also the Gambian Police and the Gambia in general. To be allowed to train the team that is responsible for the protection of one's head of state is the utmost honour that we could expect you to extend to us. So thank you, and also thanks to all of you for your duty and the fact that you have been selected to be part of that elite team. The reputation that you hold comes before you. We knew who we were dealing with when we arrived, and that's why we have brought you the best instructors we could find for the role that you conduct. That you're, inshallah, I'm sure that you will be excellent throughout the course, and at the end of the course you will be, hopefully you would have learned some things from us, and we'll have learned a lot of things from you as well. So thank you for participating, and thank you again to His Excellency the President.
The Gambia Armed Forces consist of 3 branches: the Gambia National Army, the Gambia Navy, and the Republican National Guards from the 1980s to 1996, when they were moved under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Interior. Reporting for N24 TV, I am Sukai Jajusi.
MOHF outlines the dangers associated with tobacco powder, also known as TAABA. MOF, in partnership and collaboration with some non-government organizations, held a press briefing on the harmful effects and dangers of vaginal tobacco, locally made and made known as Taba Munko or Simangkola. Mothers Health Foundation addressed the dangers behind TAABA, which many pregnant women insert into their genitals. They do this because they think it makes delivery easy. This has, however, been proven wrong, and according to experts, it causes complications. Alimatu Juve has the rest of that story.
The use of TAABA by many women in our society are now facing health problems. Rohiyatasi, lead president, coordinator, Mothers Health Foundation, Gambia, said TAABA is made up of different substances.
Someone was advised to use the TAABA, and when she did, she lost her eyesight. That's the impact I want to know, because I was told of what the TAABA does to a pregnant woman, but not the eyes. They said if you use it, it's like electric shock, because it runs through the brain and then affects your eyes. That is why MOFI is gathered here to do our findings about the TAABA. We were told that the TAABA was made out of a baobab tree, which is dried up and then roasted, and they add caustic soda and a little TAABA. Others said it has marijuana, both the seeds and the leaves. We were also told that TAABA has kubejara, a local medicine which is believed to cure all kinds of diseases.
She further said that TAABA is multifaceted. Surprisingly, even men use it, claiming it cures hernia.
TAABA is multifaceted and it cuts across, and that's why we stood up. The reason why some of these women are using the TAABA is because of ignorance. They were made to believe that it is good and it cures. Some men believe that it cures hernia, and they also believe it's a needle.
Dr. Dafe, gynecologist, Carnifing Hospital, said TAABA affects the sexual reproductive health right of women. He said it can cause infection, and those infections can cause infertility. It is not scientifically proven, he said.
Locally called, it's a chemical that is made of so many things. Chemical, we know that they are acidic, and it's being used on the female genitalia, which can lead to some complications. And then those complications, like from the little history we got, or from the little research, interaction with the people we did, even with some of the cases that we admitted at the hospital, we realized that the first thing that they will do is, for the first time users, when they do, some will tell us, I've already fainted, almost fainted. Some will say, I have a headache. But the worst of all, some will experience a severe chemical dermatitis on their genitalia. That is they have what we call these inflammatory burnings on their genitalia. And with that can cause infection. Infection in the infection in the genitalia usually ascend. It goes through to the female genitalia, it can go through the cervix. We can see a lot of infection happening. And this infection, you never know. It can even cause infertility. Although, contrarily, some will say they use it for infertility, or they use it for what you call, for treating this, the infection, socket, PIDs. But instead, you are even introducing something that will cause infection because it's not medicated. It's not scientifically proved.
However, Dafe states that the use of TAABA causes negative sexual satisfaction. It also causes abortion to some people.
It will also cause what we call a negative sexual satisfaction, because some women will tell you, oh, if I use this, it seems like I sleep with a man. But this is called a negative sexual satisfaction. In fact, in the long run, it's going to affect you, because using it, that infection and that the burning will cause what is the scarring of the genitalia. And in the long run, if you are a woman who is in a reproductive age group, like you got pregnant, during delivery, you see that your vagina to stretch for the baby to come out will become a problem. And sometimes those are the people that will have an injury or a tear, and that if you are in a place where there is no immediate medical attention that can be given to you, you may cost your life, because we all know the leading cause of maternal mortality or even the cause of death in labor in this country or all over the world is bleeding. It's bleeding.
Madam Jainab Kamara, Mothers Health Foundation, Senegal, said TAABA is a drug and those people selling it should be criminalized because they know what they are selling is not good, yet they went into hiding in doing so.
This is a drug substance and it should be criminalized. The sellers need to know that enough is enough, and they should be imprisoned for people to realize that it shouldn't be hidden. Even the person responsible in Sejo, when I told him about it, I would like for you to come with your team of journalists to interview and put it on Senegalese TV stations for them to know about it. The suppliers hide themselves because they know that it is not good. The whole world should know about this TAABA, and our government should help us. Our children are having difficulty conceiving. Being married at 25 and cannot have a baby, I relate it all to TAABA.
TAABA is causing serious health issues for both men and women. Marriages are falling apart due to this substance. Mothers Health Foundation was established in June 2019. Reporting for N24, I am Alimata Jove.
The Gambia Wrestling Association held their general meeting at the Gambia National Olympic Committee on Saturday, the 2nd October 2021. Sitting Modumbai Cham, the president of the Wrestling Association, informed the stakeholders of their activities in the year 2020/2021 and the financial performance of the association. Due to COVID-19, the association has been faced with challenges. Sukay Jajusi has the rest of that story.
The Gambian Wrestling Association held their annual meeting, which was headed by the president of the association, Serigne Modou Cham. The president lamented on the challenges that the association has been faced with.
January 2021, following the December elective congress, my executive was engaged in a series of meetings, including meeting with the relevant stakeholders to make sure that we unite the wrestling family. Furthermore, the GAA embarked on its first community outreach program, visiting Kitty, Seeds Academy, where the children were taught the basics of wrestling. Meetings were also held with the Combo Central Sports Committee and Marrakech Sports Committee for them to incorporate wrestling in their calendar of activities. March 2021, in its quest to have an all-inclusive executive body, the GAA for the first time invited all the regional chairpersons to a meeting where they were given the opportunity to highlight their progress and constraints at their regions. Meanwhile, the GAA executive also paid a courtesy call on the Minister of Youth and Sports and his Bakari Stafula, and his ministries were briefed on the undertaking by the GAA and the constraints hampering the progress of the wrestling in the country.
A member of the Wrestling Association also states that the regional representatives should report issues on the ground in their various regions.
Because that's the truth. The region, they have their own autonomous, their operational system. If you give them the license, then you want to make sure again empower that license. There is a contradiction here, because if it comes to the regions, we have 7 regions, including Banjul, KMC, and West Coast. So if you can lead right to CRR, West Coast, KMC, Banjul. So I think we need to work on that aspect. For you understand it. I'm not going to work because they didn't fall. Because they fall, they don't have ATM, they don't have reports. They don't have reports, so you know the need to work is involved. Or you don't talk directly, depend directly on Gambia. Exactly. If you on that same operation, the family very big. That's why we have to have national lancing and regional lancings. Regional lancings should be more and regions.
Also, an ex-member of the executive advised the association to work as a team.
And always work together as families. Working relationships are not easy. Sometimes you might have different opinions. But please put your heads together as a country and move the wrestling, to another level. Right now, wrestling is at higher gears at the government level. And I know everybody understand that wrestling now, if you go there, is thousands and thousands of people that are coming to watch wrestling.
The Gambia Wrestling Federation then was formed in 1977 with lawyer Ousseynou Dabo as the president to 1984. Then the name was changed to the Gambia Wrestling Association and Musa Babanding Jaite as president from 1984 to 2005. The sport is second only to football in popularity and spectators watching the match. Reporting for N24 TV, I am Sukay Jajusi.
The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education announced the GABECE results. The event was graced by high dignitaries, including the Permanent Secretary. They highlighted that this year's results are way better than last year's. Alimatu Juve reports.
GABECE results 2021 improves better than last year. Louis Moses Mendy, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, said that their interest as a sector is not to concentrate at the flyers. What is important for them is to widen the pass number and lessen the failure number.
That our interest as a sector is not to concentrate on the flyers. And when we say flyers, those top students with aggregate 6. It is good to have aggregate 6. But what is better is to have everybody having aggregate 6. But in the event we cannot have everybody having aggregate 6, what is important for us is to widen the pass number and lessen the failure number. In this, I mean, we need to have more students passing the subjects to be able to proceed or transit to grade 10 than just having a few who will be able to proceed or transit to grade 10. And what we have seen so far, from last year to this year, comparing the 2 years, we have more students that pass the grade 9 exams this year than last year.
He went on saying that 5 private schools got aggregate 6 and 11 public schools got aggregate 6. The public schools doubled the private schools. This he said they're interested in.
That even the flyers that we often refer to, they do not only exist in private schools as often perceived. And the analysis will show you, you'll be given the details of that. Often we think public schools are not good enough as compared to private schools. But the results are proving otherwise. The results are indicating that even out of those with aggregate 6, we have 5 against 7. Saying, am I right? We have 5 private schools that got aggregate 6, and we have 7 public schools that got aggregate 6. 11. Good. So it's 11 against 5, meaning the public schools almost doubled the private schools. So that is something we are interested in, and that is giving you assurance that we are committed as a sector to provide quality education in our public schools.
However, he said there are no fees for children attending public schools. Public schools that are taking fees should be solicited.
However, it has been brought to our notice that there are public schools that levy some charges to students. And for that reason, we want to say to the general public that in the Gambia, there are no fees for any student attending a public school in this country. And when we say public school in the Gambia, we refer to all subvented, grant-aided, recognized madrasas, schools across the length and breadth of this country. And if you would want to have examples of those schools, it would include perhaps LK Latrikunda in German, German here, Latrikunda German. It also includes St. Teresa's in Carnifing. It also includes Newstrat in Bundum. And it also includes Charles Joe. Just to give you an example of what we refer to as public schools. So any child in that school should not pay for anything, as the government of the Gambia pays for everything that involves or is included or is surrounding their education in those schools. From the provisions of teaching and learning materials to all other materials that may be used in the process of service delivery. We want to make that clear. And for that reason, if there are schools that are levying some charges that are not authorized by the ministry, they should desist or stop that with immediate effect.
Adama Jimba Job, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, outlines the results.
Nationally, those who start, you remember there is a difference between those who register and those who start. This number is talking about those who start to the exam, at least one subject. And they are 26,147 start to the exams. Now, which 11,340 are boys and 14,807 are girls. We have still about 418 candidates whose results are not included in this analysis due to delay in the submission of continuous assessment CAS marks by their schools. What this meant is there are 418 students who still their results are withheld by WIAC because their CAS marks are not submitted by their schools.
Permanent Secretary Louis Moses Mendy further encouraged teachers to take posting anywhere they are posted to, especially in the rural areas, so that those children can be provided with quality education. Reporting for N24, I am Alimoto Diouf.
And over now to the international and sports news. Tunisian journalist arrested after reading poem. Tunisian authorities have arrested a journalist after he read lines from a popular poem on television by a renowned poet about dictators in Arab countries and how they treat their people. Amir Ayat, who hosts a talk show on Zitouna TV, was accused along with his guest of undermining the security of the state. Sukay Jarjasi has the rest of the story.
Ahmed Ayat, who hosts a talk show on Zitouna TV, was accused along with his guest of undermining the security of the state. It is thought that the authorities believe that the journalist was making an analogy with President Kais Saied by reading the poem by Ahmed Matar. A friend of Amir Ayat tweeted confirming his arrest and said he will be back stronger. Zitouna TV has been critical of President Saied since he suspended parliament in a move described by the opposition as a coup and a violation of the constitution. The detention of Mr. Ayat is the latest in a series of arrests that targeted journalists and lawmakers who had expressed their opposition to the president's measures.
Dozens of kidnapped suspects arrested in Nigeria. Police in Nigeria say they have arrested 20 suspected armed kidnappers in the northwest of the country, where abductions for ransom are common. The authorities said they belonged to two separate gangs that had mainly operated on major motorways in the region. More in this report.
According to the statement, the main suspect sometimes disguised himself as a commercial bus driver. It says he transported passengers from motor parks and informed gang members who then lay in ambush along the road to kidnap the unsuspecting travelers for ransom. Nigeria has been grappling with an increasing wave of killings and kidnappings for ransom by armed criminal gangs targeting school children, communities, and travelers. Despite reports of numerous arrests of suspects by the authorities, prosecution and convictions are very rare. Thousands of security forces deployed to several states have been unable to end the violence so far.
Athletic spiritual home Kenya bids to host 2025 World Championships. Athletics Kenya President Jackson Tuwei has confirmed that his nation has submitted a bid document to host the 2025 World Championships. More in this report with Sarjo S. Jame.
Tuwei feels that Kenya's history of producing world-class athletes gives them a real chance of becoming the first African host of the global showpiece. We feel like Kenya is the spiritual home of athletics, he told BBC Sport Africa. Kenya has a rich history in middle and long-distance athletics, boasting 60 world and 34 Olympic champions, while also currently holding 8 women's and 9 men's world records. Reports suggest that Olympic host city Tokyo also put in a bid ahead of Friday's deadline. World Athletics says it is not in a position to release any information yet about any bids it has received, telling BBC Sport Africa it is very early in the process. It has never been hosted in Africa and never been done in Kenya, so we believe that it is our time, Tuwei added. We couldn't have managed to get the bid document without government support, and we are very grateful. He also believes that Kenya's experience of hosting both the Under-20 World Athletics Championships earlier this year and the Under-18 version in 2017 sets them in good stead. We learned a lot of lessons out of those two events, and I believe we are now ready to act on those lessons we learned, he insisted. The head of African Athletics, Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, said back in 2017 that he wanted the continent to host the 2025 World Championships, mentioning Kenya as a possible host. World Athletics, the sport's global governing body, is set to visit the bidding cities in early 2022
and could announce the host in March. One person who would like to see the event held in Kenya is the USA's former world and Olympic champion Justin Gatlin. He recently competed at the Kip Keino Classic meeting in Nairobi's Kasarani Stadium, which will host the World Championships if Kenya's bid is successful. To have Kenya host a World Championships here will be a great opportunity, he told BBC Sports Africa at last month's event. You have so many champions and so many great Kenyan runners. I think the world should be able to see where they come from, how hard they work, and what makes them the athletes they are. The American city Eugene will host the World Athletics Championships in 2022 after they were delayed from this year to accommodate the Olympics, which had also been postponed due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. The 2023 championships, meanwhile, will be held in the Hungarian capital, Budapest.
And there you have it for this week's edition of the news. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week, same time, same platform. I am Mudi Wangam.